Phil Steele has high expectations for the Oklahoma Sooners heading into 2025. I'll talk to Eric Cooper and see what he thinks about it right now on Rise and Shine College Football. Good morning, and welcome back to Rise and Shine College Football. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, here with my special guest, Eric Cooper. And if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of Hall of Fame college football. Coop, back in the house. What's up, my guy?
What's up? Yeah, man. It is, this is like the measuring stick of where we are in the off season. Is Phil Steele hits the printer, and the VIPs will be getting their magazines out here soon. I don't partake in much national media. When we do what we do, we know a lot of the stuff. But Phil Steele is just the nostalgia. I like the nostalgia. Phil Steele, man. I used to remember just every time that. OU was bad in the 90s. It was like there's always like a picture that was like this big, and it was like maybe like an OU water bottle. And then obviously when 99 hit and expectations started going up, you started seeing Sooners on the cover for the regional, and it just became a deal to where I just don't like waiting for the Phil Steele, but it also ushers in talk season in full effect.
Oh, yeah, that is the official opening of talk season, is when these magazines start hitting the racks. You got Athlon, you got some of these other ones. And also, we actually, friend of our program is the CFB professor, and you guys can all get out there and check him out. If you have a Patreon, you can actually buy a subscription to his preview for the SEC. It's only like $2 a month. You should get over there and check it out. It's CFB professor on Patreon. He doesn't have Oklahoma quite as high, but talking a little bit about, we got a few things we're going to talk about. Welcome into the show, everybody. B&G, good to see you in here. Brian Sandlin, Rob077, our Mizzou favorite. Logan Litke, Brian Sandlin, Drew, and TP Gurr. Let's see. True Okie, and of course, our guy, Bishop Frank. Welcome into the show, everybody. Make sure you wipe your damn feet before you come in this house. And share the stream so that we can get to 500 subscribers before the start of the college football season. That gives us almost a full 2 months and, about 20 days. So come on, we should be able to get there in that amount of time. Make sure you are sharing this with everybody else. Now, nobody cares about Dave Campbell's, bro. Nobody cares. What's up, Neilio? Good to see you in here, my man. Appreciate you showing up and hitting us up in here. But let's get in here and talk just a little bit about what we've seen, obviously, from Phil Steele. Talked about how OU had just 3 home games a year ago. Coming off a 6-7 season, he said, "You won't be in anyone's top 10 except for mine." Top 10 ranking from Phil Steele. I don't know that I am ready to kind of go there, but he goes on to say, only having the 3 games in the SEC a year ago, they would obviously get 4 true home games, and then just 3 true road games because, of course, you have the neutral site Red River that will be another one of their away games. But coming off a losing season, he says OU could recapture the magic of 2000, waking the echoes there. It's a little sketchy. What does Phil Steele see in Oklahoma that nobody else dares to admit, probably you and I included, in this group of 2025 Sooners, Coop?
Um, well, first and foremost, the last time that he had us like this was the year that Dylan Gabriel led us to the 10-2. So that's something to keep. It's I think to the again, I feel like it's to the casual fan is when you see the shades and echoes of 2000. It's just like anytime that OU is going to be coming out of the middle of nowhere to make some big waves. And let's just be honest. I mean, we went to several national championship games and played some of the best teams to like the LSU team. But all in all, I think that you just want to threaten the top this year as an Oklahoma fan. Last year we have got the candy out of that pinata as my new analogy. It is empty, but I gotta feel like you start with the defensive line. This is a defensive line that's going to be one of the best in the country.
Yep.
Again, it's kind of like the who's the GOAT? Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Will Chamberlain. It's like everybody's going to have their own opinion, and there's going to be subtle differences. And, sometimes your defensive line could be much better than another one, but not
Yeah.
statistically so. So I feel like this defensive line, what makes it stellar is I think that the up front, the starting four, are going to be freaking similar to the second four.
Yep.
And that's not anything that's more saying just the amount of
Got a bunch of
growth.
starters, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
bunch of the growth from like David Stone. I feel like with the added weight this year, he's got an attitude about him. I mean, you literally got down to, and I don't know if you saw my interview with the wrestler's kid. My brain.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
too early for me. Yeah,
Bro. Hey
Henry.
man,
Jacob Henry. So
yeah, Jacob Henry I am a fan. I got to talk to him for most of the second half of Red River last year. So
yeah.
I got to hang out with him and stuff and kind of chat him up. And yeah, man, it was a fun conversation. He's a good kid.
That's a guy. Yeah, that's a guy that he expects to see playing time.
Yeah.
His his name was the world's strongest man, right?
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
given it by legitimacy too. And
Yep.
so, he's got a massive wrestling background. He is on the OU wrestling team, last year. And so, guys like him and Marcus Strong, I mean, those are the back end guys, and those are probably 9-10 on the depth chart. I think that you're going to have some really really good edge guys. You go from like the lunch pail guy and Ethan Downs, to bringing in Marvin Jones Jr., a little bit of
Yep.
a pass rush specialist. He is just a mutant from measurables. So I think it starts there. Also, you go in with the linebackers. This is now Stutzman is gone.
Yeah.
Stutzman's out here, and I think that Brent was kind of looking forward last year a little bit because you notice like right after the Tennessee game, they started rolling. I mean, Stutzman was off the field for a lot of really really big series, really big plays, pivotal series against Auburn. How you had Kobe and Kip out there. Now you add another freaking mutant in Kendall Daniels, a guy that's 6'5" to 50, 260 at linebacker, and he is able to fly around in the low 4.5s. And then the safeties are an absolute stud. So you look on the outside and you just hope that you can get something out of Gentry. And from what I'm hearing, he's 100%. He's rocking, and
Yep.
they don't have any expectations of him not being there. And then Eli Bowen showed out last year, but you also got some depth there. So the defense is what's going to happen, and we talked about it all the year last year, Jason. If you had anything regarding a pulse on offense, you're an 8-4 team, and
Yeah.
so we have more than
Yeah,
a
you
pulse.
can say that they could have won 4 in maybe 5 games. I think it's fair to say they should have won 2 more at least. So
Yeah.
to 8. Yeah, absolutely. No doubt.
And I mean, to legitimately fumble away, the Missouri game. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's just
Hissing
a
down
dude
his
who,
leg. Yes. Yes.
yes. And so, the offensive line, guys, it is going to be very, very, very hard to hold off Fasusi and Foje. Those guys are the best looking, the most athletic offensive linemen. And so I feel very, very, very solid about the offensive line. And then, the receivers, it's trending nicely, especially with the new hire, bringing in an NFL, kind of a injury evaluator. So, it looks good on the from the wide receiver perspective. There's some videos rolling around about Kanik back in high school, just trucking folks, as a kind of a wildcat quarterback. You throw him like a sweep toss. I mean, think about that. We saw Braden Willis, and he had a phenomenal year. In the first BV year. Now you can do that again with Kanik. He is not going to listen. Jason, you and I know this.
Yeah.
Kanik ain't going out there, and nobody's going to be terrified of him as a blocker. But
you know what though? I've been saying this a lot lately. Well, we hadn't really brought it up too much lately. We talked about it though for a while. I've never seen a high school film ever anywhere that had so many 50+ yard touchdowns, Coop, ever.
It's like watching one of those Pee-wee football to where like
one
they got
after
the big
another
dude who is like, he's like 5'5", and everybody else is 4'11", and he's, they're weighing 84, 50, 80, 84, 90 pounds, and dude's at 130 already. And it's just like there's not a chance. And so I just take it from a schematic standpoint, and this is something you can throw on film maybe 3 times the entire year, but he lines up in the backfield as an H-back, and you throw a toss sweep to him with the running, with X-Rob or, somebody else coming across, you bring over a tight end, and all of a sudden you set up a wall for Kanik to start running down. And guys, listen, you put it on film, and it doesn't have to happen all year long, but if it turns into something, that's what gets people excited. So,
and that's the whole thing that I was saying. It's not that it's something that, look, you just got to get him involved and make sure, if he makes a play or two, because don't forget, we're talking about 4.4 speed, for a guy that weighs 230 pounds, as big as he is, he's been playing linebacker, he's going to play physical. Even just getting a couple of explosive plays out of him, all of a sudden now people have to plan for that. You get a couple of big plays, and I mean, even think about it. You've got some of those games that you could theoretically see him do that in early on, and you've got your obviously the Temple game. You've got a couple of those other ones. Kent State coming up before it. Just you want to make sure that he's going to end up. But like I said, chances are he could be unbelievable in that position. The H-back. I think that everybody is looking forward to the return of the H-back into this offense. You start thinking about guys like, Dimitri Flowers. I always think about Dimitri Flowers. Yeah. You know what I mean? Why not?
Yeah. And JD Runnels is another one. We had that in the bag. And,
B Hall.
And also, man, I don't want to be, I'm trying my best not to just beat up the dude, but let's just be honest. Like the ability of Arbuckle to schematically scheme things up versus Seth Luttrell, which is, he's about as dynamic as a tongue depressor. Like dude just does not have very much creativity.
I was about to say something else instead of dynamic.
So you've got some creativity here, and I'm just going to say this. I'm going to come out. You are an absolute fool if you think that there's going to be anything wrong with Mateer coming into the SEC. Mateer faced defenses.
Please go ahead into this, because you know what?
Yes.
I put out some different stuff talking about why, I have that short video out that we just did, and we did a video the other day. There's like, if you're not high on Oklahoma coming into this season, I think you are high on something, because everything there is to talk about with this team, aside from a shit ton of injuries, I don't know how you don't end up with a minimum of 8 wins. And you know, it could be even better. I think they're definitely a contender for the playoffs. I'm not going to go making a bunch of crazy predictions or anything like that until we do it. But if you think that they're not worth the shit, I think you're crazy. And I think John Mateer, it will translate over. It will translate over.
Yeah.
You got better players on the team with him than he had at Washington State too.
Let's just say this: John Mateer was playing with like a flag football crew at a junior college, you know, in Oklahoma City. Like that's the talent that he was dealing with. But a lot of people say, well, what did he face? Dude, he faced several defenses that ranked higher than Georgia. And so he's also using
but that's
tools.
I mean, and some of that skews a little bit because of who they're playing against and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
100%. But again, you the confidence factor is there. You know, you got a team who has really, really good defense, and John Mateer comes in and, you know, throws for 350 and 3 touchdowns. Like, it's not like the dude, you know, barely got it done throwing 265 with tutties, and he's like, yeah, we feel good about that. Like, I mean, he threw well, and he didn't turn the ball over. He was literally like SGA from a possession at time, you know, type of deal, because he also had nearly 1,000 yards rushing and double-digit touchdowns, you know, and so he was out there slinging. And so you now put a bunch of uber talented guys. He's super familiar with the system, and I think I said this one time on your show is you don't know what that really means for him and Arbuckle and Kuzieski to come over here with John Mateer, because there's literally nothing. And Jason, they're sitting in a meeting. Imagine this, and it does not matter. It does not matter what kind of fan you are, but imagine being an offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, and a super solid quarterback, and then you run through a couple practices and you sit down in a meeting, and they all look at each other like, bro, do you see what we have out here?
Yeah.
Shit. What the hell? And so you didn't get to see anything out of the wide receivers last year because you had a mentally weak quarterback. And there was just so much just confusion up and down,
absolutely
and up and down, and up and down. Yeah, and Mateer, that's it. This is one of the best defenses. And when you had Jackson Arnold, listen, what did we talk about in all the games? Everybody played our offense in a 25-yard box because they were not terrified at all that the ball was going to go further.
Think about this. I go back to thinking about what we were hearing towards the end of the year, that every one of those SEC defensive coordinators said they knew what we were running as soon as we lined up. Yeah. As soon as we lined up.
It's 100%.
They knew exactly what was coming. There was no good way of hiding anything. There was, all this stuff. Hell, I remember hearing Damian Mackey talking about the checks and some of the stuff. He goes, it's not like he doesn't know what to do because it's the same offense we ran all the way back when we were here. You know? So that's the whole deal. I mean, in the end,
Jason, it's kind of like Monty Python, Search for the Holy Grail. You know, when the knight gets his legs chopped off and his arms chopped off, and it would be like fighting a dude who had no legs and one arm. Like, where is it coming from? From one space. Like, that's what these defensive coordinators were looking at against us last year. And then I will also say, Hawkins sitting here as a true freshman with no offensive line consistency, no really home run threat at running back, and no wide receivers who had any clue what was going on.
And the playbook was already shitty. It got way worse whenever he got in. It's like, you get 2 weeks to prepare. I mean, really, aside from his early touchdown against Auburn, the late one that he threw the deep ball right into the breadbasket of what's his name? You know what I'm talking about? 60-yard bomb on the money, perfect. But really, they did a bunch of crap in between there that nothing else kind of went the way that it should have. Getting 2 weeks before the Red River, and good Lord. It was bad. I mean, Kobe busting your balls to kick you out like that. But true, they weren't doing shit. They had 9 straight 3-and-outs in the middle of that game.
And you pissed down your legs a couple times, and you saw it from even Danny Stutzman with the fumble in the back of the end zone, to where they're just like, at that point, it's like, how like, why do I want to continue to bust my ass? Because Brent Venables is yelling at the defense on the sideline saying, guys, we got to score if we want a chance to win this game, to his freaking defense. Like, that's not what your defense is supposed to do. Turnovers and, pick sixes, fumble recovery, stuff like that. That is a byproduct of continued pressure. And we talked about the offenses that we faced. They knew they were coming up against a really harsh, really good defense, but they knew that, hey, listen, guys, we don't have to press. You just keep on pecking away. And yeah, you will bum. I mean, it is 100%. And so I will say this, let's get back to Phil Steele, because Phil Steele looks at us at the number 3 in the SEC. And listen, I don't really care, because there's so much, like, how to rank the SEC right now it's kind of confusing, because there's so much newness in the quarterback's position across the whole board. We said we have 7 or 8 first-time quarterbacks in the systems. Now, obviously, we have one too, but he brought his system to us. And let's be honest, I don't think any of our offensive players are like, it's going to be really hard to forget what we were doing last year, because we had a damn clue anyway. So
no doubt.
Mateer comes in. He is coaching everybody. You've got Kuzieski, Mateer, and Arbuckle able to coach 3 people at the same time, and so you get all that stuff, and they're speaking the same language. So I think that one of the big things, is right now, I've always been a pretty big advocate of, hey, man, let's do an expectation rating. Like when you order someone on Amazon and it says expected delivery date June 19th. Like, it could be earlier, it could be later. It's going to be in that region. And so the schedule by name and appearance looks tough. But Michigan had a worse offense than we did last year. And one of their dudes was the main cover guy on the football game. They literally had a great running game, and we didn't have a great anything game. We had a great 3-and-out game. So you face them. They've either got a transfer that, was mediocre, or a freshman coming in who has a super high ceiling. And I would say I'm more worried about Michigan next year. But you got Auburn. How is Auburn supposed to? I mean, we saw Jackson Arnold. Is there anybody in the chat? Let me know if I'm out of my mind. Is there anybody in the chat that says, you know what, I'm a little worried about Jackson Arnold based off of?
I think the worry would be is, if he does go over there and becomes what we all thought he was at OU and beats Oklahoma, it's going to piss everyone. I mean, that would be one of those type of games that would really start off the first part of that season with a bad taste in your mouth if you lost to Jackson Arnold. Do I think that I think that there's a better chance of him not playing in that game than there is of him playing in it, to be quite honest.
Hey, and we saw the Tennessee game was absolutely batshit crazy, Jason. Like it was unrelenting. And I said after that game, the offense let down the defense and the crowd, because the crowd, I still give it up to everybody at that game. And I mean, it took 4 days to recover.
Brother, I was down there, right? Yep. 12th row? I think I was right there on the home side. And yeah, dude, it was.
Was that the one
loud.
Was that the one where we actually got some drinks at the parents' tailgate?
It was, yes.
Yeah,
at the Stutzman tailgate. Yeah, several drinks.
So
yeah, little hammered.
Yeah. And hey, by the way, Danny is making a name for himself down in New Orleans, and I talked to Steve a little bit, and I mean, things are good. So they're still great.
Got to get him on. We got to get Steve on at least or something, and try to see if we can get Danny on. It'd be great, because man, what a deal. I love it. He's going to go down there and kill it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think they're very good offensively, which, sucks, but they should get better at some point, I would think.
It's great, but I was saying that Tennessee and Alabama, the crowd was absolutely just
stunning,
freaking nuts.
Yeah.
And so Jackson
been a long
Arnold
time since I've heard a crowd that stayed in it. The way they tried to will them to that win there in that game.
It was till the final minute. And we were down double digits, But Jackson Arnold, we saw the mentally weakness. He is going to come in. These fans they're going to lie into his ass. And when it comes time, old ball coach is going to be screaming at him and going after him and telling him same thing that he was doing to the quarterback last year. Bet Jackson Arnold looks better than Arch. I don't know what kind of bar that is.
That's
but
a stretch, man. That's a stretch. I don't know that I see that at this point.
Hey, listen, I know for a fact that, I mean, I saw Jason, I talked to you about these things. I had someone send me a ton of, close practice videos.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of great plays, but there were 5 times the amount of bad plays. And
and so that's what we talked about. I think they broke him during the spring even. Part of it is he doesn't do well looking over his shoulder, and Michael Hawkins was at his heels immediately. Immediately. Which we had all, we had kind of talked about that. I know I talked about it with you quite a bit. I talked about it on the show even the year before that, assuming Jackson Arnold is the starter next year, whatever, don't get it twisted and think that Michael Hawkins can't and won't win that job from him if he goes out hurt or for whatever reason doesn't play up to expectations. He may never get his job back. I would tell you again, he shouldn't have got his damn job back. What happened in that South Carolina game had as much to do with tongue depressor Seth as it had to do with anybody. When you have a freaking tight end that isn't a blocking tight end going one-on-one with All-American edge guys. That makes no sense. None.
It doesn't. Now, did it matter that day? No. I think that we lost that game before we showed up because, man, I just, you look at the ability for that young team who, again, most of these guys were expected to get some snaps at some point in the year, and they ended up being full-time starters. Howland wasn't ready last year, but I think it makes it better for him this year.
Sure.
And that's what I said is, in the
not to mention you've got guys like Isaiah Autry-Dink coming back at that area too. I mean, with Jacob Sexton should be their number one guy at tackle without a doubt, and sounds like he is so far. But I don't think that they're that far off. We talked about the defensive line. The depth there is unbelievable on the D line. I think that the depth on the offensive line may be pretty damn good because of what you just said. You had a bunch of guys that kind of got rushed into service.
So what you see here is most of these cats who are coming in, these offensive linemen, I know there's been a bunch of talk about people going, oh, Felix Ojo, 5-star, cancels OV to OU. I'm just saying, like, to the casual guy, OU hasn't been in on him for a few months.
Yeah, we know.
And he just keeps it up. I mean, you look at Mason James out of Norman. Respect to the kid. Jim Nagy and what he is doing going after the NFL bodies. He's a little small. He's a little slow. He's maybe a solid guy, but I mean, we pivoted away from him, and his top 5 show is it Alabama, Oklahoma, Mizzou, Washington, and somebody else I can't remember. I mean, really, it's down to Mizzou and Washington. The other 3 are just there to make it look better. But anytime that you see that, and kind of like the kid this morning picking Rutgers, he left here. It's hard to get those East Coast guys off the East Coast because it's a different world. It's a different everything, and is what it is. But I still expect, we're on a little bit of a run. I still expect recruiting to continue. I think we still get somebody today. So I was mid-tweet when you texted me this morning, and the ADHD took over, and I never sent it. But, I mean, you expect a commitment and time to thunder the hell up. So, but going through the SEC, I think there's so much new quarterbacks throughout the area. And I'm saying this as neutral as I can, Jason. And I know that every day, all day, yesterday and tomorrow, forever and forever, amen, you hate Texas. But just from no emotions, no personal stuff, what the national media, and I hope that Texas can really, kind of wash this out. But throughout the national media, the pressure that they're putting on Arch, I feel is starting to get unfair. You're supposed to finish number 1 in the SEC. You're supposed to win the Heisman and the national championship.
Be number 1. Mm-hmm.
After losing, 50+% of your producers from last year. like
And
60%.
yeah. No, and that's what I'm saying. Your top 4 your 5 offensive linemen, including the best one, your left tackle.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen, I like their running back room a ton. I don't hate their receiver room, but it's not proven whatsoever. And then they, you know, we talk about the portal and what are you going to get out of the portal? And a lot of times you look at it as, you get what you can get, but the spring portal going and putting 5 guys from the D line and, oh yeah, all of a sudden they're just plug and play. They're going to be as good as they were a year ago. I don't even know. I have a hard time with that. But when it comes to Arch, I agree with you. I think that Arch is going to have a good season. I think he's a good player. And I think that there's a chance they could get back to the playoff. I do. I don't know that it's a guarantee. I have a hard time believing that they're going to go into the shoe and win. I have a hard time believing they're going to go to the swamp and win. And you come in with 2 losses into the Red River and coming off of a week that you had to go to the swamp and battle it out there. And whether you win or lose, you're going to be a little worn out there. You could have 3 losses after Red River because of the fact that Oklahoma had Kent State that week that you had the swamp, that you were in the swamp. And not to mention, they're going to have something to get after a quarterback like Arch that they will not have seen as of yet. I think Florida's defense is very good too. But as I'm saying, it wouldn't surprise you if they already had 3 losses. Then they got to roll through the rest of it without a loss if they have any chance at a playoff, which I don't know that they would. It would just kind of depend on, strength of schedule or whatever at the end there and how it all works itself out. But even at 2 losses, I think any 10-2 SEC team is probably going to get in. But I think that Arch is going to be very good. I think it's a lot to ask for him to come in and win the Heisman, go number 1 in the draft next year because you won the national championship. I don't understand it.
Yeah, and whoever said the thing about Ojo, no, I'm not saying he's not an NFL body. I'm thinking that I think the dude knows that he is the top dude, but it is hard. I expect OU to be in on a lot of top tier offensive linemen next year, not this year, because of what is currently there.
Yeah.
You've got to come in and go after, some of these guys who are going to be year 3, year 4 in the system, like an Isaiah Autry-Dent, at this point next year. You've got Fasusi and Foje, not to mention that you've got a couple other guys who, in Logan Howland. So, but Ojo knows that Michigan, Ohio State, and Texas all want him very, very, very bad. And so that price point is going to be a lot more than Michael Fasusi
through the roof
this past year.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, it's going to be. But, with what going back to Texas is what Texas's game, and listen, Sark's good at this. He knows how to scheme things up. I mean, look what he made.
Let me ask a quick question though. If Arch was so good and so ready, why did he not ever? Why did they not get the starting position over a 7th round Quinn Ewers?
Well, here's what I say to that. Quinn Ewers and Carson Beck feel pretty much like the same quarterback to me. These are guys who they're not going to do anything. They're not. They're never going to be anything over there. But if I'm Texas, you've got a decent defensive line.
It's decent, but again, you had to go and get 5 dudes in the spring portal. You're going to tell me there was more than 1 or 2 good ones in the spring portal? Because I struggle to believe that.
Yeah, it's their defensive line, they have shown, because I thought this last year. I thought, you know what, they lost a lot. I don't know if you're going to be able to get it back. But I feel like that defensive line is going to have a lot more strain on them this year than they've had in the past. And I think that Texas's recipe for success is you have, listen, color me stupid. I never thought the running game of Arch Manning, just a Manning running the football, just seems so odd, but his pops was the most athletic one in the bunch.
Sure.
And, no. That's a low bar, but I'm talking like Peyton and Eli down here. So, but I just got to say is,
well, no, he can run a little bit. Runs a 4.7 or whatever it is. Okay, cool.
He can run. Yes, he can run. Yeah. And kind of like Jackson Arnold. I think it's kind of in that type of running capability. But my recipe for Sark is you start the season out by, it's going to be hard with Ohio State right then and there, but you start the season out looking at your strengths. You're going to have a good running back group. You're going to have some pretty dirty receivers. And so you get teams moving sideline to sideline so that they can't just attack upfield on the defensive line. And you put the linebackers in a lot of precarious situations. He's going to set a lot of leveled screens. He's going to set a lot of leveled, slants, and he runs those crossing routes really, really well. Their receiver room is very good. Their running back is very good, and you have to hide some of that offensive line situations while they develop. So the whole, how did Arch not take over Quinn? I guess loyalty, but I'm also guessing. Yeah.
Come on, when you're going for it, you're going to tell me that you're going for a national championship, and he went with loyalty over the better player?
Yeah, and
come on, bro.
At that point, that's the same argument that people kind of felt about why did you get rid of Dylan Gabriel for Jackson Arnold? It's going to be the same argument. We'll never know. We'll never know. Even though Dylan's kind of came out and said, everything is like, no, my goal was to get back closer to home, and he was going to, he knew.
Oh well, yeah, and you're never going to convince a Texas person that's not bullshit, that they didn't push him out.
So we'll see what Texas is. I think that the schedule for Oklahoma is sneaky set up for success, and I think that the schedule for Texas is sneaky difficult, and it's just where games are put and how they're placed, and it makes it to where, again, it's the SEC. So even if you're playing Mississippi State, it's a lot harder than going out and playing, one of the bottom Big 12 teams.
Sure.
In Mississippi State, I would put.
I don't think that they're gonna. I think Mississippi State has a freshman that should be in front of Blake Shapen. If you ask me, that dude is a straight up stud.
Yeah,
straight up stud.
If he can stay healthy, that's just the Baylor quarterback curse has been. Dude,
no, I'm saying, Blake isn't very good, man. He's not very good. I don't like that guy. But the freshman that they have, love him. I mean, we've seen a lot of film on him. He's looked good from what I heard, he looked great in the spring. Lebby loves him. We'll see kind of what happens. But in the end,
the one thing I will say for the Texas guys in here and for the OU guys in here, I think after year one in the SEC, everybody was like, you know what? These teams can't come in here and hang. They're not built this way. They can't do this. Listen, I think we both showed that ain't it. That ain't it. Like on defense, we were a defense who was working overtime, was still one of the better ones in the country. And then with Texas, they came in and they played what was in front of them. The only thing that got them was really Georgia. And so both of these teams have shown that, like, hey, listen, let's not forget, like mid-2000s, the Big 12 was the best conference in football. Mm-hmm. The quarterbacks across the board with Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield, Colt McCoy. I mean, all of those guys, you're saying Bradford. I mean, that was the time of dominance for the Big 12, and it all started with the quarterbacks. And so that's what we're going to have to see from the SEC this year, as well as Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. Can Drew Aller break the cycle of the Penn State quarterback who looks great as a second-year player and then just trends downward year after year after year? So I think that you'll see the Ohio State-Texas game. It's going to be kind of like the USC LSU game last year. Are we going to get to know anything? Because we really don't know anything about either team. And I think I have Texas winning that game.
Which game? Ohio
State. I think I do.
I don't know.
I think Ohio State replaced way too much. I think that you're going to have a young quarterback, never played before, and you're going to have situations to where he's going to go to that freak of nature, Jeremiah Smith, religiously, and it's going to be tough for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Unk's in here. They definitely don't have a Robinson at Texas this year. He said he disagrees. How good will that running back room be with the new offensive line? Same reason I think Arch will have the same problem. But Smart in Georgia did the loyalty situation at quarterback, pushed the The other out to Ohio State, obviously talking about Justin Fields in that one. Look,
Yeah.
in the end, it worked out for Georgia because they ended up winning a natty, and Ohio State didn't with Justin Fields, But
And
you
you
know,
see him, but that's just the simple thing of like it's revisionist history, or as Cam Newton said, hindsight is 50-50. So you just look at you look at some of these things, but I do.
here's the
I mean,
thing, though.
I do look. Go ahead.
My thing about this is I'm not saying that they can't win the game. I think that they could go in and win the game. I think it's a lot to ask to go in and win a road game in the shoe where they're celebrating a national championship. There's going to be hyped in there. And look, don't forget, they have the best player probably in the country on that offense in Jeremiah Smith, and the best defensive player in the country on the other side of the ball in Caleb Downs. They have enough guys. They have just, and look, all this damn talent that we keep hearing about at Texas, it's not like they have less of it at Ohio State. I understand the new coordinator situation and all that, but Ryan Day can call plays. In fact, he called plays for a part of the time last year anyway. Believe me, when it gets, especially in game one, he's going to have his hands all over the play calling.
Yeah,
and he calls them just as well as Sark does, no doubt about it.
And here's what they're going to have. There's two things. Here's what they're going to have on both sides. Is you're going to have offensive coordinators, right? There's dudes with that title, but let's be honest, it's Sark and Day. Those are the guys who run the offense. So can they run this new young offense and focus on everything else all at the same time? You don't know, right? And so, but I will say this, if Texas wants a little level up, all you Texas guys, find a jersey combination that has maize and blue in it. Because if you look like Michigan, Ohio State pisses down their leg. So just do it that way. Come up with some alt. But I will say this is you've got that early game. And again, it's the first game for both of these teams. Texas has not ever done bad. I mean, I put a post out there the other day. Texas has out-recruited OU 8 of the last 10 years. 8 of the last 10. And gone 8-3 versus OU in those times. And I caveat this. One win was regular season, Kyler Murray. We came back and won the Big 12 championship. Yeah. The other one was we were using H-back at quarterback because Gabriel was out. And then you saw the duct tape and spit, connection of offense last year. So the recruiting has always been there for Texas. Things are different now. I think maybe different bodies, the SEC bump, but it also feels like there is a slow progression, with just some of the development of their young guys, and you kind of hit on all the portal guys. You can't just be relying on 2 or 3 guys from the portal to be good.
Hold on.
All these guys kind of have to.
Texas had no issue shutting down Smith last year. No, but they got burned for 75 yards by Travion Henderson, and the other receiver, what's his name? He got off on you because you guys were bracketing. Yeah, Mbuka was getting off because you were bracketing Jeremiah Smith. It doesn't matter that you shut one down. And again, you don't even have the same secondary this year that did that shit. So what are we talking about?
Listen, Muhammad was a guy that I really, really like. And
I like him too, but I mean,
I think we've gone at this. I think that we go at this from just the way of, we'll just wait and see because it's going to be the first game. I don't think that you overreact one way or the other. Both of them are replacing hell amount. They're both
going to be whatever happens in that game. They still got everything in front of them. It's game one. What are we talking about? You know what I mean? In the end, all I'm saying is, we went a long way around the thing to say, I think Oklahoma can beat Texas, and I think they will beat Texas this year for a number of reasons. But, the idea that Texas is so far out in front of everybody else in the SEC, like I heard Paul Feinbaum saying, is bullshit. It's insanity. Again, they talk about how great that defense was last year. Which one of the best offenses in the country did they go up against?
And Blake, yeah, man, pound sand, skip rocks, go back, tell your mom to get the meatloaf ready. Because I mean, you guys are the delusional ones. I'm just saying, I
Oh,
like
poor Blake got in here and got all booty hurt.
I like guys like Benji who actually want to take a look at things from a intelligent aspect, and that's what and Colby also. But yeah, man, if you look at last
Will
year
Howard
for
was
Oklahoma,
also their quarterback. You know what? Will Howard has never, Julian Sains is going to be their quarterback, I'm guessing. But he was a 5-star, and he's had a year in the system. The system hasn't changed at all. It hasn't changed.
And,
In the end, maybe you win the game. I'm not saying definitely don't win the game, but you're acting like it's a foregone conclusion that it's going to happen. And I would tell you that it isn't.
And you lost 28-14, so it really wasn't a close game.
Well, so it was, but they went sideways on the 1 fucking yard line. That's another thing that I don't love about Texas is that they struggle to get a yard with that offensive line. What? You know what I mean? He loses control of his playbook a lot. Sark's been doing that the entire time he's there. His script is great. He doesn't always, do very well with it at the second half when the script is over with. We've seen that since he got to Texas. Remember when he lost 6 straight halftime leads in the first year, lost another 3 of them like that the next year? I mean, it happens. The guy's not unbeatable. You guys are acting like you're unbeatable at Texas. You're not.
And here when I say, I actually am picking you to go up there and win. So for you to get butthurt about stuff, man.
Yeah, I'm not.
Again, it just shows the mental weakness. It just shows the mental weakness of some of your fans, which we've got them too. But when you come in here and lose your mind like that, dude, it's silly.
Yeah, no doubt.
But
let's look,
move on.
We can sit here and go into these stats. He only had 1 touchdown pass and 1 interception, but they did pretty well in rushing, did they not? Yeah. I mean, it wasn't great actually, but they outscored you. I know that's the important part, and you can say what you want. I mean, good for you guys. You finally went up against a good offense and still lost. You tried to lose the game to the week before that. Tried to lose that game to Arizona State. Hell, I would tell you that you did everything in your power to blow it against Clemson, but they couldn't stop the run at all. It is what it is. But be pissy about it.
That's dope, Benji.
Benji says that there's no.
I plan on going to the Michigan game next year, and I think that there's a lot of guys who want to do it because right now, apparently, you can't get a hotel anywhere around Ann Arbor or anything like that. Those things are all booked up. So I'm going to.
Well, we'll have the RV, man. We could just do the RV thing and haul ass.
Yeah.
We'll definitely be in RVs by then, if not sooner. And I think it will be sooner, but
I'll have enough beverages that I could sleep in the back of my truck fine.
Yeah, there it is.
It's a big truck.
So,
getting through here, Jason. So again, it's you go to Temple, which is kind of a fun, that's going to be a fun game.
Playing at their pro stadium or whatever.
Yeah. Auburn comes here. I just guys, listen. I just don't think they're going to have the signal caller, and
I hope that it's Arch, because I think that Deuce may be a pain in the ass to deal with. But I think either way you slice it, they're going to throw some things things that even Jackson hasn't seen, but he won't want to see it, and they're licking their chops for Jackson. But Deuce would have, I think, struggles with a Brent Venables defense that's going to throw a lot of things at him. That's the other thing that I really love. If we're talking about Oklahoma, why I love what their chances are to do. Again, they still have to go do it. Don't get me wrong. But 6 out of your 8 SEC opponents are going to have brand new quarterbacks.
Yeah. And I'm 50-50. I think Ole Miss is probably the team that that probably stays similar at quarterback, but around them is not the same amount of stuff. We saw what happened with what's his name when we played him being out the I can forget the wide receiver's name. Was it not Juice Wells? Was it?
Who are we talking about? Oh,
The
Juice
Ole Miss
Wells or Ole Miss?
the
No,
Ole Miss receiver. Somebody help me out in the chat.
it was the guy that was at. It's not Juice Wells that was at South Carolina.
I can't remember. But anyway, long story short is I think that the quarterback drop off is going to be less than other places, but I think that the team around him is going to struggle a little bit more. South Carolina, we'll see. South Carolina. It's just different. They lost a lot on their defense.
A lot.
They came in with an absolute flurry. Here in Norman. I think the guys are going to be pretty pissed off about that, and I think that there may be some overconfidence because of how they handled us last year. So, but that and the LSU game are the two games that I really point at the most as like the potential 2 losses, along with Alabama. But I feel like Tennessee took a step back. They were a run first offense last year, and though the hype was all around. Nico, it is more along the lines of, it was Sampson at running back when he did well.
It was Dylan Sampson, and
yeah,
and he had a good game. In the end, he had a good game. The truth is, you gave him too many opportunities.
Yeah,
You gave him too many opportunities, and still Michael Hawkins was trying to mount a comeback. I don't care what anybody says. They didn't take their foot off of nothing. Josh knew that he couldn't take his foot off the gas. What he was trying to do was protect Nico and hand the ball off because he knew he had a lead. He's like, man, Nico had turned the ball over twice also. Both of those turnovers, we turned it right back over to him, Jackson Arnold. Again, I think that you go into that. I think that's a tough game. And I think that their new quarterback is pretty good. I think that he might be better down the field throwing it than Nico was last year. I think Nico was going to be better too. In the end, I don't think the weapons that they have in Knoxville, it's not going to be the same.
Yeah. That is the same. I don't fear Tennessee like I did previously, and
no.
And also you were kind of worried about James Pierce. He wasn't much of a factor at all in that game. They came out and it still was the offense that we had, and so if you give the offense a pulse, literally you give them the ball back the next play after possession, after a turnover from your defense 2 different times. It is hard for any team to overcome that, much less.
Dude, and especially
much less what we were dealing with.
You think about it. The turnovers that he had, he turned it over 3 times in the first half, actually.
The interception that he tried to force into.
Into triple coverage whenever you had Burks wide open over the middle. That's a touchdown if he throws it. The other fumble that was, the behind the line of scrimmage throw that turned into a fumble that got recovered. If he hands that to Javonte, he's probably running now. You know what I mean? He's still running because it was nothing but wide open spaces.
No, and I think it was either the play or 2 plays prior, he got really close to doing the same exact thing. So, it's a it's a tough deal to go back to that game just because it literally looked like from the the Adam Sandler longest yard, and the Brucey guy says it's Brucey's time to shine, and he says, why can't I play quarterback? And he's like, here, have the ball, and he's hutting and throws it down at the ground. He's like, that's why I shut up. It's that situation,
right?
And so I just fully believe that we've got a lot of opportunity, to really resurge and to do better. Just on the offensive side. But
I was just talking about this the other day, Greg. He couldn't count to 6, bro, on the RPO. That's a pre-snap read that you make of how many are in the box. He couldn't count. If there's 6, you can throw. If there's 5, you don't.
Yeah, it's just crazy. But let's get to Alabama because I know that we're coming up about 30 minutes left here.
Yeah, about 30 minutes left. Yeah, and obviously I was going to bring up a little bit about what we have in this from the professor. He's not as high on Oklahoma. He's got them going 8-4, ceiling of 9-3. We'll do a little bit more of a deep dive on him on this. I'm going to get him in to kind of talk about it a little bit more. He does have Oklahoma as the number 5 roster talent in the SEC. Power rankings, he's got them at number 6. I mean, they're right there. I mean, everything is pretty tight, and it is really tight in the SEC, I believe. But just his projected conference standings or projected just record, Bama, he's got going 12-0. And I've been saying that I think Alabama is going to be. Listen, I think Alabama is definitely one of the contenders for the national championship. I think that even though I understand what you're about to say about the quarterback situation, I don't know that it doesn't end up being Keelan Russell at some point. They also have roster talent out the wazoo. They've got a great receiver room. They've got a great offensive line. They've got a really good defensive line. I think their defense may lead the way. But year 2 of Kalen DeBoer is usually pretty good. In any event, I don't agree with him on Georgia. I don't think they were going to make the playoff this year. I think that Georgia's time has kind of come and gone as far as this year's concerned. I just don't. They've had to replace a lot there. Bunch of new faces. Now they don't have the toughest schedule in the world, but I do think that it's going to be tough. Ole Miss and Tennessee, again, he's got them kind of high up. I don't really trust either one of those teams, nor do I really trust Missouri. He's got LSU at 8-4. I think LSU is going to be one of the better teams. And this is where you start looking at it is, some people are going to, you were just saying earlier, you've got some guys that are higher on OU than others, some guys that are higher on Texas than others as well. In the end, my feeling is that Oklahoma may not have as tough a schedule as it looks like, because I think that Missouri is not going to be as good. Not at all. I don't think that I think that Tennessee, I don't think they're as good. And I am not high on South Carolina, Coop. I'm not. You're muted, by the way, before you come back in. I'm not as high on South Carolina.
On Missouri, I mean, let's just be honest. That team's not going to be what they've been for the past 2 years. They're going to go back to being what they typically are. LSU is either going to be this is how LSU rolls. They're either going to be unstoppable like the last Burrow year, or they are going to be, an 8-4, 9-5 team and completely be disappointing. That's just what LSU does. They don't do great with high expectations all the time. I don't think anybody thought that the Joe Burrow final year was going to come out and be one of the best, teams of all time. Joe Burrow is a great quarterback, but you got to look at what they had at receiver. And I mean, between Jefferson and Chase, I mean, those are arguably the 2 best receivers in the game. And I just don't, you're literally, I mean, that wasn't very long ago. So it's not like they are 10-year pros and, they finally hit this massive stride. Like, they've always been that. They've been great from day one. And so, also, Patrick Fields and Bookie were leading our defense. So you got that. Or Justin Broyles. But I here's the Alabama thing. I don't see. I think that they're going to be better at quarterback. I think that the running game is still a little bit of an issue. We haven't seen that big Alabama 12, 14, 1,600-yard rusher, Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry. They haven't had that in quite a long time.
Yeah.
I also think that after last year, a lot of the fear of Alabama just across the country has diminished. And I still say that they are not the same as the Nick Saban Alabama. Is Kalen DeBoer a good coach? 100% he's a good coach. Jalen Milroe, I mean, he is a less effective Jalen Hurts. He's faster, but he throws a lot worse. And so I think that they can be much better at the quarterback position this year. I want to see what other receiver, what outside of wide receiver 1, like, what do the rest of the guys look like? Do they get a lot from the tight end? Because that tight end for them has always been man, we're doing good against these crop of receivers, and then all of a sudden that tight end's running down the middle and catches an 80-yard pass. You've got to adjust, and then the receivers go off. And so, that's my kind of take on Alabama. I'm in kind of a wait and see mode because I want to see how that team does. Discipline was a massive, massive issue. They weren't scared. You did not. I've said this 100 times. You did not want to be that class that finally just failed.
Yeah,
Like,
no doubt.
you want to be the class that continues that legacy.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, and like I said, we'll do a deeper dive with the professor and let him kind of talk about that. That's his rankings. I'll just tell you this. They get it right on their – he gets it right a hell of a lot more than he gets it wrong as far as his projections are concerned. And once they get down to playoff time, their projections on what the committee's going to come up with, they're off like 0.3% of the time. Like,
yeah,
it's like nothing.
And listen, at this point in the season, most of it is talk season.
Nobody's afraid of Bama anymore, but they have the best roster talent in the country. Period. They still have the number one roster. Listen, I'm not telling you that it's a guarantee. I'm telling you why I still am not off of Bama yet. I'm not off of Bama yet. And I'm going to have to see you. They went 9-3 and with a quarterback that couldn't throw it.
Yeah. I would just like to say, when Quinn and Texas went to Alabama and essentially just did whatever they wanted. I think that was a.
But they were going up against Milroe as well.
No, was that Milroe? I thought that was.
It was
Bryce Young.
It wasn't. Bryce Young beat him in Austin the year before.
Oh,
he shouldn't have probably. He shouldn't have probably. Yeah.
But again, I don't think that fear's there, and I also don't think that edge that Alabama has had for the past decade is there. We'll see. We'll see what happens because, again, it's a first-year quarterback, whoever it is, and there's going to be first-year yips, and whatever happens.
I'll tell you what, I see Keelan Russell as a straight-up dog. I think that by the time Oklahoma plays Alabama, I think Keelan's probably their starter. If he struggles, look, just because they said Ty Simpson, if they were playing games today, would be the starter. We're not playing games today. So that's a stupid thing to say. It's coach speak, and that means nothing, right? It means something if you want him to be the starter, blah, blah, blah. But it was still 4.5 months out of freaking playing games that they said that shit. Keelan Russell, from everything I've heard coming out of Alabama, is that he was neck and neck with Ty Simpson the whole way. And he's in his first spring of learning the system. Look, we haven't seen Ty Simpson do anything special. I think he's a pretty good quarterback. I don't think he's terrible. But I'm just saying, I don't see them being bad at all. I don't see them being bad at all. And if they end up, if I'm wrong, I'll eat it. It'd be fun to mess with Smook about it if so. But in the end, I think that, let's see. Yeah, Dwayne Johns, my guy. Appreciate you. No, and look, and I think Milroe was listen, before anybody gets the idea that I say he sucked, I don't think he sucks. I think he's just not a great passer of the tendencies. Ball. He's got tendencies
tendencies. Yes. And that's why in 2023, yes, they did. They balled out. But the more film you have on someone who just, look at what OU did to him. And I'm just saying that when you put a defensive coordinator that actually, like a Bill Belichick type of situation where you take away the one thing that they really, really just hang their hat on, there was nothing else. You had to rely on.
I'm not saying he's trash. I'm not saying he's trash, Benji. I'm not.
No, he's not trash, but he is very, very. He's not very dynamic.
Right, and also that was the other part too. I think that Nick Sheridan was not ready to call plays, and when you get a guy like what's his name, Grubback, to run that offense, and again, year two with And Kalen DeBoer has been really good everywhere he's been, you know. Up until last year, I mean, he's lost 15 games out of like 127 or some shit like that in his career. It's not like he sucks as it. Now, is he a fit at Alabama? I don't know. He may not be. Is it going to definitely work out? I don't know. If you ask Coach, he's going to say no. You know what I mean? I think that but it's all. I have a different opinion about it. I think he's good, and I think that they're continuing to recruit very well because you can do that at Alabama. You know, and they do still have a hell of a roster. Now,
that's never going to change.
Yeah. Are you higher, lower, same on Mateer stats last year for this year? Passing yards, 31-39. I think you can be at that or higher. I don't think that he's higher on rushing yards. I would hope that he's not higher on rushing yards because I don't think that you need to be running that much as a quarterback in the SEC. But I think he's still at worst a 500-yard probably rusher if he stays healthy. He's got to stay healthy. But here's the other thing, too. I would tell you this. They're not afraid to put Michael Hawkins in that game either. They're not afraid of it. He's being developed by the same guys, too. He'll have time, you know. He looked very good in the game that he played in the bowl game when he, you know, until they got away from what they – but he didn't make any mistakes. He had a couple of drops here and there, stuff like that shouldn't have happened, but – I don't think that it's one of those things that it's a big deal. I think that Mateer can go out there, win the Heisman, and Oklahoma's if he wins the Heisman, that means that you won at minimum 9 and maybe 10. You know? And I think you should get to Red River 5-0. I think you have to. The key stretch I was talking about, the key stretch is you can't afford to lose after the Red River. You need to beat South Carolina, Tennessee, and Ole Miss. You got to win those damn games, Coop. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, those are the ones that you got to take care of. Well, listen, I've got 10-2, barring freak of nature loss of entire position groups. You know, because
oh, good news, we got a new trainer on that.
Yeah,
we got a new trainer in the room. Thank God.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be a fun year. I don't know if there legitimately is a kind of odds-on favorite in the country. I think
that's the other part that I love.
There's a lot of newness.
Yeah.
And I think for Oklahoma, your goal is on offense. Your goal is let your defense do what they're able to do without putting them in horrible situations. And on defense, you don't have to be as buttoned up and relied upon to pitch a shutout. You know, like our defense was like Najee Kennedy. Like, I think, what did they score? Like in the first 4 games, they scored 7 runs and were undefeated, you know, in the softball deal. And so that's kind of what our defense had to deal with. Is it was like, you know, we can't let anything happen. And so I think the defense is going to be able to play freer. I think that this time we see a much more multiple type of a defense. What Kendall Daniels is able to do is just, he's going to be different. He is just a different body. You got a lot of height that you're going to be able to throw. And so if people try to run these crossers across the middle, you've got a 6'5" linebacker or cheetah out there. And Kendall Dolby comes back. You know, I think it's going to be. I'm on the books of saying, I think the starters at safety at some point this year are going to end up with Robert Spears Jennings and Hardy. You're going to have to get more out of Peyton Bowen. This is year 3, and
yeah, no doubt. And I think that injury wise, I think that Peyton's been very good when he's been in. I also think that it's hard to get in front of Billy Bowman, who runs that ran that secondary, right?
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised. Listen, I think that Reggie Powers is also kind of in the mix at the cheetah position. I know of. He can play either or in both. He played a lot. We had Reggie's dad on the other day, and he talked about that he played cheetah pretty much his whole high school career. So it's nothing new.
he was center fielder. That's what I mean. In high school, it's just center field. You put a dude in the middle,
Exactly.
and he takes away a massive circle in the middle of the field.
Right. You know, you call on him to do a lot of things. He was the best guy on their team without a doubt. But what I'm getting at is that when you look at what, you know, with a healthy Gentry, and Gentry, you know, being healthy is, man, awesome. You know, knock wood that he stays that way, right? But Kendall Dobie can also play corner. You know, I also think that, look, we'll see what happens with those other guys, but I think the safety room, they're going to be running and this is what Reggie talked about. It's not about just the starters. They're going to have a rotation just like they will on that D line.
Yeah.
Because they want to be fresh at the end of the game.
You're dang right. And I mean, I think even the pups, you know, Omarion Robinson and Marcus Wimberly, those are two guys that are also already ready to make a difference on the field. And they're going to want to get in. And I think it is absolutely crucial. Doesn't matter what happens, you know, why Oklahoma needs to put your foot on people's throats, get in there early, don't struggle through to get your rhythm, because we want this year good health, and we also want and we also want the ability to get the pups in, you know, at the end of games and get them some playing time. They got a lot of it last year because we had an injury depth chart that looked like
but not at the right positions. They didn't. The defensive guys that you wanted to see getting a little more playing time weren't able to do it because you didn't have blowouts, and they put you in positions where even in the you know, the Houston game was way damn too close. You know, they should have. They could have lost. Damn right. You could have lost Tulane too at times. I mean, there was a couple of things that had it not been for our missing, you know, that game's a lot closer too.
Yeah. And even Auburn. So, I mean, even Auburn.
No doubt.
So, I mean, it's, you know, you say both sides is, you know, you have anything according to an offense, you know, we win 2 more games. I mean, if your defense is 2 steps, you know, lesser, you probably lose 2 or 3 more games. So, but again, this is what we have to talk about right now. It's recruiting.
Sure.
These things are coming in. But here,
let's we only got about 15 minutes left, so
yeah, let's go.
Let's kind of move on from this, and we're, you know what, guys, we're going to talk about this a lot more. But first thing, let's spend 5 minutes on this. I've been seeing so much of this stuff about the Deloitte deal with the you know, the house settlement. You've got the Deloitte clearinghouse thing that everybody's thinking is going to just automatically we have parity in college football. They're going to stop you from illicit spending in NIL money. And I'm telling everybody, you're out of your damn mind if you believe that. Do not believe that. Okay. There's no way that these players and their agents and everything else are going to fucking let some computer algorithm tell you that their NIL deal is not valid without taking the shit to court. Until they get to collective bargaining, it's not going away. And
no,
I don't know why they're waiting on collective bargaining, by the way. I get I know what they're trying to do, but I don't want to hear, I've said this a bunch, I don't want to hear another fucking thing about people saying that players are greedy when the greed is on the other side of it. Because they don't have to have what they have. They want to put a stop to transferring and this and that and this and that and this and that. But we know that most of the transfers for the portal are actually being told to go transfer. So the changes that they want to make, they can either make them or they're not going to get away with this, with not paying money. And these dudes, you think the kids all of a sudden, oh yeah, the guys last year could get 15, 20 million, but we can't? Fuck out of here. There's no way they're going to do that.
Here's the thing. OU's compliance team already has a deal. Everybody's got to have these things submitted by June 15th. And the SEC is trying to get it pushed out to July 1st, so 15 more days. Like, what the hell does that matter? But at this point, the moment that somebody is told, nope, you can't do that.
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
Cancel somebody's NIL deal. Yeah.
Lawsuit number 1. And it is going to be a list longer than my grass right now. So it's going to be.
Think about that. Come on, bro. Think about it. They haven't won a damn court case in 10 years.
They can't. They literally can't. They don't have the money to stick in there if it turns into something long. You're going to have, and trust me, this people say, well, are the universities going to pay for that court costs? Are the people going to pay for with their NIL? No, what's going to happen is a law firm is going to roll the dice and say, hey, we'll take this on.
We're gonna win
can't
this
make
shit.
it, but guess what happens? They win that one. Who all comes to that law firm? Every other dude who's pissed off. And they win that first one, and that law firm is going to go from, you know, a comfortable firm to a multi-billion-dollar entity. So I think that it 100% is going to be this situation. I feel like this is a necessary path, though. I think you need to go, all right, so
I think there needs to be reform. I think there needs to be reform, right? But I think that in order to do that, you go ahead and do this and see that they don't look. Yeah, there's going to be law firms that'll be like, oh yeah, we'll get our money on the back end. Don't worry, we got you, because and especially knowing that every time it's gone to any court, it's been shut down. The Supreme Court has shut down them being able to that you can't stop them from their ability to make money through NIL. So the idea that it's just going to be this revenue share, which is $15 million a team, and then all of a sudden we have parity in college sports, get over yourselves, people. There's no way that that's a fact. There's no way. So you all of a sudden Texas Tech has their $1 billionaire and they're putting all this money towards it, and you're going to take away everything that they've got. Yeah, fucking right.
And if you've watched the series Landman, which no, it does, because if you watch the series Landman, and everybody, if you haven't checked it out, Billy Bob Thornton is phenomenal. Allie Larder, good God, still at like 50 years old. And then the daughter is ridiculous. So, but it's funny. But those guys are oil men. They are used to being in court damn near 24/7.
Yeah, they don't give a shit.
Come and tell a West Texas oil man, you know, something from the Northeast, hey, we're going to tell you what to do. But like, do you not think that that is like a
your West computer Virginian told us that I can't use this guy as an endorser? Get out of here. Benji's so right with this. It's so dumb. He says the way they want to do away with collect is at the same time they're worried about the other sports getting the axe. Meanwhile, they're making more money every year, year over year, and it's going to get bigger from as we go along in this next era of college sports. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. It's all about control. It is all about control. I guarantee you've had enough Nick Saban bitching in the ear of the president, or Kirby Smart doing it now. He's sitting there whining about Lincoln and them doing exactly what they do too. You know what I mean? Paying kids while they're still in high school and all that shit to not only, to become committed to them, but to stay committed. Everybody's doing it. Come on. In the end, none of this stuff is going to, and yes, Tennessee is to blame. Hey, Captain Crunch, for all the people that are on this Tennessee love and all that shit for standing up to Nico, they started this damn mess with NIL. It was
going to be somebody.
They started it though.
And when that happened, I think that I came on here and I said, this is step one to a lot other, because you're going to have some of the officials, the presidents and stuff like that, who, though they know that sports is a necessary evil, their job is to absolutely, focus on the education piece. And so you get 3 or 4 of them taking a stand for something. But again, and I think it was who said it in here, it was the Bagman.
Yeah, Boomer Halen.
This now is
the Bagman will be back. That's what you want. That's what we want is to be dirty. You know what I mean? Instead of just sharing the money. Come on, man.
You're encouraging it right now.
Yeah,
you're encouraging it. And what's about to happen is it is going to be like, all right, we'll play ball, and we're going to do everything according to plan until the lawsuits all hit. But it's like money laundering. It's like having if you've seen the movie The Accountant with Ben Affleck, he has like a dry cleaner, a law firm service, a nail service, and then a Chinese restaurant, and he's like money laundering through cash businesses. It is. They report $65,000 in NIL, and then the uncle from around the street comes in with that bag and says, "Here you go."
Yeah, and nobody can tell you what you're worth is what Crunch said. You know what? And I agree here. I have to agree. I know not everybody's in love with our boy, our Oklahoma boy, RJ, but he said you're worth whatever somebody's willing to fucking pay you.
100%. Value is
100%.
value is the agreed number between two parties.
That's right.
Because Bill Gates bought one of Da Vinci's manuscripts for $3.8 million.
Yeah.
And would I want that if I had $50
No,
million?
that value's not. It may not matter to you, but it did to him. Yeah.
Yeah, and look at baseball cards. We cut baseball cards, comic books, jerseys, Jordans. Starbucks. Look at freaking Starbucks. Like, you can go to McDonald's, get a coffee for 99 cents. You go to Starbucks and get it for $6. Why?
Yeah.
It's a trend. It's trendy. People want, and then they get into a habit. And so, yeah, that's the same thing. Is the moment that you start telling kids that it's just one lawsuit away from the avalanche, and it's going to be kind of entertaining to watch. And it's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be in Ohio State. I don't think it's going to be in Alabama. I don't think it's going to be in Oklahoma.
I think it'll be Texas Tech. Tech's talking about $55 million is their number.
Yeah. And it's going to be from I think my dog's dying. But it's going to be one of these schools like South Carolina, Texas Tech.
Why not?
Wisconsin, something like that.
Sounds like it might be Tennessee because they're jumping in. They got their governor already working behind the scenes and trying to preempt it. In the end, guys, I'm just going to say this. The idea that they're really going to be able to shut down. And the other thing I would say about NIL stuff, think of it this way. I look at the deal that Dak Prescott has with Sleep Number bets. Sleep Number is one of the Cowboys' biggest corporate sponsors or whatever. It's one of their big corporate sponsors. So of course they give Dak extra money. You know what I mean? And that's probably worked through the NFL. Nobody can do anything about that, nor do they even want to. Why does it bother you what a player makes? Why does it bother you what a player makes? And in the end, all they have to do is not do 1-year contracts. That's on the schools too and on the coaches because they're used to being able to go a year at a time with scholarships and keep roster flexibility. You can't have it both ways. Pay little or, because they've been doing it for so many years, you've still got people dragging their feet. But things are not going in that direction. And if you think that they are, then you're sadly mistaken. The lawsuits will continue to. They're going to waste a shit ton of that money they're getting off of these television deals on lawsuits.
And what you're going to have is you're going to have the presidents at the Blue Bloods, the places like that. They won't participate. Yeah, and SMU too, 100%.
Wouldn't surprise me, bro.
Tell anybody in Texas that they can't do something. You know what that does? It makes them plan, and it says it's the hold my beer moment. But what you're going to have is you're going to have Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, Texas, Ohio State, Michigan. They're not going to jump into this stuff. They're going to instigate it. Mm-hmm. They're gonna come out and they're gonna instigate every single piece of it, and they're gonna let some of these other colleges go to bat, and it's going to be hilarious. It is absolutely going to be hilarious. And again, this is the inability for the NCAA to have any damn relevance outside of the tournament in basketball. Yeah. That's legitimately the only thing that they continue to hold.
Yeah, no doubt.
That thing's scratching by now because of the one and dones, and so you just have. I mean, you just absolutely have, what is it? I forgot what the terminology is, but it is a gas full of can, and there's a bunch of folks sitting around with lighters and matches going, all right,
ready to blow this shit up.
Yeah.
Oh, here's Norman. He puts his foot up on my shoulder.
Hey, buddy.
His big old dopey dog. Come on. Come on.
There it is.
There he is.
Norman.
Oh, Normie. Big ass dopey. He's a 145-pound dog, lap dog, I swear. All right, get down, buddy.
Both my kids. My daughter just got back from the doctor, full on cast. Broke her. She's starting softball. And broke her hand on Saturday at a birthday party. Kids were goofing around. Bigger girl came down the slide and hit her right in her hand. She starts softball on Friday, so she was one practice in.
That sucks.
Pretty sad for her. So
LSU
I'm
spending
teaching.
15 million on football. No, they're not. No, they're
Hey,
not.
listen, in in,
Uh,
in my job,
come on,
for
bro.
those who don't know, so I work for USA Today. I'm a director on the national team, and we've had conversations with some of these collectives on, money raising and things like that. And even just in the conversations, we were talking with a certain SEC school that we've been talking about,
Yeah,
and the number that they threw out there on what their NIL budget was the biggest amount of horseshit I've ever seen. Because
right.
I mean, I know for a fact, I know when we see the generous donations from private people or from Loves and stuff like that on the OU side, like you get 6 of those and you're up over what the reported budget is. So these numbers are not ever going to be true. You're
Never.
never going to know it. You're never,
Mm-mm.
never, ever going to know these numbers, because it's just not possible until you get to collective bargaining and the same set of rules across the board. Because there was the rule about, if you don't do this, the player's going to be suspended. Well, then you get into, well, do you need to vacate games that they played in, while they're in a pending suit? Um, you know, what's going to happen there? Because it is going to be a bunch of people chasing around numbers, and a lot of
Yeah, they'll get an
people.
injunction. They'll get an injunction. Look, it's going to take one or two of them, and it'll shut it all down, just like it has before. You can't go. They're talking about that this is going to keep them from going bankrupt, but what'll bankrupt them is all these damn lawsuits that are coming when you start trying to take NIL away. It's just not it
100%.
now that the kids know that they can get it and that it's fair that they can get it and that they've been winning every damn lawsuit. They're not going to stop now. They're not going to let you stop it now. I don't care if you want to or not, Joe C. I don't care. Knock it off, because you're not going to be able to do it. Let's move on from that. Final thing we're going to talk about. We got to Bowe Bentley watch. Sounds like it's coming anytime. He's shut down the recruitment. Of course, he was here in Norman. What the last weekend? You saw all kinds of pictures and all the fun that they were having out there and everything. But you have on threes, RPM, AI has OU landing him short on a short margin. 247's lone crystal ball predicts LSU to get him with the medium. They got a medium
Yep.
confidence score of about 6 on there. But then, of course, our favorite predictor, the Crystal Chicken Wing, also has Oklahoma landing him as well. I don't know. Um, I
Here,
think this is still it's kind of a mess, and I hate it for what it's becoming. But what are your thoughts on this? What are you hearing on this? Where is it headed?
um, circumstantially, I don't like what happened with Jaden. I hate it. I hate it for him. I hate it for his pops.
Yeah,
I've already told him, man, just whatever happens, I'm still your man. Let me know. I was talking to him on Saturday as he was coming back from the scrimmage up here in Owasso, driving into tornadoes. I bet they're enjoying that from California weather. But I've got a couple people who have said, from the LSU side, they're kind of seeing the writing on the wall now. I think that my thought was, after this weekend, knowing Bowe Bentley and how he kind of operates, I knew it was going to be a situation to where he wasn't going to commit on the scene. That's not what he was going to do. I mean, this dude has a chance to be a super high 4-star, potentially a 5-star by the end of the season. And that's not what those guys do. They don't make those type of things. There was the story the other day of one of the commitments who just Shelton walked in and flipped his chip to Chavis, and he said, "What is this for?" He said, "What do you mean it is for? I'm all in. Let's go."
yeah,
And his commitment came hours later.
yeah.
You saw the guy yesterday. Same situation, came out of completely left field. With Derek Johnson second. His dad was a NFL guy. But Bowe was going to go home. He was going to say, "Hey, this is what my thoughts are. Does anybody feel differently?" He liked both sides. I'm not saying it's a done deal, but I'm 60-40 for OU right now. It would not surprise me if he picked LSU. At that point, you got to get a transfer in, and you got to probably go all in on Peyton Houston for 27. But I think this is going to end up in OU. I really feel for the Sperry family because the Sperry family does not like the O'Neal family. Sour grapes, and so if Jaden,
well,
takes his talents down to Tallahassee, I
I don't
think
think that
that
they're that high on Sperry and Tallahassee either way.
he has looked good, but they want a quarterback. They need they need a quarterback. I think that, and Jaron called me out on it, and then I explained my reasoning. I think that Jaden he looks like Cardell Jones from Ohio State a few years back. Big body,
Cardell
rocket
Jones,
arm.
bro. He's the big
That's
guy,
what he
but
looks like. And a rocket arm. Now,
yeah,
his
but I think he's more like
immaturity is
Jameis,
what.
maybe. I think he's a little more like Jameis, maybe.
Not as Jameis is a good comparison. I think Jameis was a high charisma guy that people want to get around. You still see it now. Teams don't mind having him come on, but Jaden has a bright future wherever he ends up at. It sucks because, like I said, the Arbuckle got here. We had a quarterback in tow. He needed 2 quarterbacks. That's what he wanted. He was in early on Bowe before anybody really knew who he was. And then his stock just started to skyrocket. He developed that relationship, but at the same time, you can't have 2 masters. It
was a bad
coming out of the
idea.
Bible, and you can't fully love 2 people, at the same time. Talking from a spouse, so your attentions are going to be split. And
Well, and that's the concern. The real concern is that, though, too, is what if you don't get either one of them?
And
because
like I said,
there's no guarantee that you're getting Bowe Bentley. Otherwise, if he was a lock for Oklahoma, why didn't he commit while he was here?
Well, like I said, I don't think that is.
I agree that I know what you're saying. I'm just saying, if he was such a lock, it would have. If he was a lock before he got there, then it seems like he would have committed before he left, or at least by now, which it's Wednesday. I mean, they were gone Sunday. Here we go.
I think if Bowe Bentley drops it, it's going to be this time next week. It's going to be right before the Champ U barbecue. It's going to be because you're going to have a lot of guys in there, and that is a major, major recruiting tool. I don't know what they're saying early. I don't know what they're saying to recruits right now, but you're seeing the gates open up. I don't think that they can get both. I really don't, because
no, they're not getting. It's not even a think. It's a not happening, man. It's not happening.
It's not, because
I'm just gonna. O'Neal's not coming if Bentley does.
No,
okay,
it's not happening.
He's not.
There's too many factors. There's O'Neal's decisions, and then there's also the money portion of it. I don't think that you can afford that, and knowing that one of those guys would probably bounce anyway. So why are you going to commit that money? That excessive amount.
I've been
of money
saying that part too. That they're not gonna give them both $1 million, which is the going rate for a high end elite level quarterback as a coming in. That they're not gonna do it. So the other thing that I would say is, I think the reason I think it's coming sooner than later is July 1st comes quick. If they really are going to try to enforce this stuff with the Deloitte thing, you kind of want to push that through beforehand, because they can't do anything about it. Everything that was done. That's what Texas Tech is all talking about. We're doing all this stuff before all that agreement stuff.
All the agreements got to be in, because, again, like I said, we are 4 days away from all the NIL deals, being put in. So I think that we probably see a commitment date set by Bowe in the next 2 days, maybe Saturday. I think he pulls the trigger Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week. I would say Wednesday or Thursday, because the 20th is the Champ U barbecue. Now, Jaden is supposed to be on campus this Friday.
Tomorrow he's going to be there throwing, the 12th.
So I think that that's what's going to happen, is you're going to see them go down there and probably give their intentions to the staff, which is probably like, hey, we're about to bounce, so just FYI.
Yeah, I think they're waiting. I think they're waiting to see what happens with Bowe, because I think that they want to be at Oklahoma. But I'm telling you now, I guarantee, and maybe I'm wrong on that. I just know for one thing, for sure, if Bentley's coming, they're not. as clear as I can make it to people that I've had so many people in the messages after shows or even saying it in here, they're going to get both. They'll get both of them. They're not getting both. They're not.
No,
Stop saying that.
That's not happening.
Stop it. And it is what it, they must be paying who? Anyway, any reason that he's still committed? I don't know if OU's paying him. They could be paying him. That's not something that I'm privy to, and I don't think anybody's privy to it. As far as
as much as Jaron shares with us, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't think that there are some particulars that it can't get out there.
First of all, you don't want to. I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
No, I don't need to know.
I don't.
But at the same time, like, Jaron has. I mean, he shoots at 100 with us. He has shared every ounce of frustration. He has shared everything. And and I'm trying to get, if now with my daughter's hand, I don't know if she's going to go down for her soccer tournament on Saturday down in Oklahoma City, but I was trying to get connected with them this weekend. So, again, I hate it. I hate this is the way that it goes, but again, it goes back to the value. I know Jaden knows what his value is, and he knows what he can do, and it is not going to benefit him to stick out and wait for Bowe if it gets close to that July 1st. It's just not, because he doesn't want to pigeonhole himself either. No. So if he hasn't already started giving the indications, and I respect the hell out of him and his family, because he's continued to show up at the OU events. He's been up in Norman. He's thrown multiple times. He's been doing work, and he's done it the right way. He hasn't came out and, put stuff out on social media. He hasn't blasted the university, because that looks bad just across the country. And right now, kind of like Jackson Arnold and, last year, I fully, after the quarterback switch, he didn't come out and lose his mind. His parents didn't come out and lose their mind. They knew what the optics would look like. But at some point, they're going to have to say, you know what, I'm out. And this, I'm going to, and they may not make their decision quite yet, and it may be at the end of June. So, but I do think, as of right now, I feel very confident that that Bentley is probably, given some indication that that OU is it. He hasn't made it public, and Fawcett put out the 3 locks for OU the other day. I heard as many as 5 gave indication.
Who said that?
I think Hayes Fawcett put out.
Hayes
with Venables in the plane doing the punches, and he said lock times 3, because he's heard from. It's not coming from the university; it's coming from kids. So your commitment means that's your intention, but it's not the deadline. It's not the final line.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I think in the end, I think you need to at least get locked in somewhere so that you can get whatever you're getting on the way in, signing bonus, whatever. Now, of course, whatever that could be. And listen, I don't know. Again, I'm not going to get into the financial stuff with O'Neal. I don't know what's going on with the O'Neals on that, but he's been committed for a year. Yeah. He's been committed for a year. So whatever his deal is, it'll be still in place, right? It'll still be in place. So he can afford to wait until the 20th or whatever, unless he's going to leave for sure, right? But if Bowe doesn't really, I guess, when is the Elite 11 finals? Is it probably what? It's right around the July 1st, isn't it?
I don't have the mental bandwidth to remember all these
dates.
Dates.
I'll look it up real quick. Anyway, any way you look at it, it's going to need to get unscrewed sooner than later. But I don't know that you can continue to push it back, even if you're Oklahoma. June 17th. Yeah. That's right.
Through 19th. Yep. 19th would be the finals, and I'm guessing something like that happens. Maybe it's a 19th or 20th commitment date for Bowe. But here's the thing: is I don't think that you put when you are this tight with something. I don't think that you can afford to put a date on somebody and say, all right, do it by then or you're shit out of luck. Like it can't work that way, and it won't work that way. So, but it is. We saw the film. I will say another thing about Jaden is his teammates at Mustang. They
Love
love
him.
him.
Mhm.
They love him. Gabe Eichert says it all the time. When your team has a quarterback, you elevate what you do because you feel the urgency and the opportunity, and so you give it all. And in that scrimmage against Owasso, there were multiple throws, and that the wide receivers they went 110%. They were cutting hard. They were jumping up and catching balls up over defensive backs on the sideline. I mean, it looked great. And I told Jaron, I said I can 100% say, and Jay agreed with me too. I can 100% say that those boys, they believe in Jaden.
Oh, they do. They do. And they got a couple of other pretty high-end guys that transferred in there because of him.
Yeah.
From other big-time schools.
So I think that, you're right. I think that I think probably in the next couple of days we see a commitment date set for Bentley. I mean, I don't know if he's just going to pull the rabbit out of the hat without any, this is going to happen when. It could be at the Elite 11. It could be the 20th. It's going to be somewhere around there in my opinion. And that's only based off of just watching how things have typically happened.
What are you talking about, Crunch?
Why can't
transformed in Santa Fe? What?
Transferred?
Oh, it transferred into Santa Fe.
Yeah.
Like no black kids are transferred into Santa Fe. You can guarantee me that. I don't know about all that stuff, bro. He's black. He transferred in. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? In any event, however it turns out, we got to get it. I'm going to put it this way. I hope that they've learned a lesson at Oklahoma no matter what, because here in the end, I'm going to tell you again, they're not getting them both. But if you lose both of them, which is still a possibility, if he
100%, because
let's just say Bentley does choose LSU, okay, now you've got serious ass kissing to do, because up until I know for a fact they call Jaden every day from Florida State, every day.
Yeah,
that's not what happens with Ben Arbuckle in him. It is not.
No, and he hears from the coaching staff, I would say, every day. A lot of it is coming from Brent, and a lot of it's coming from Todd Bates. And those are the guys who continue to work and continue to have conversations with them. But they're not stupid. Like when there's not a ton of communication from Arbuckle, no matter what the excuse is, that puts a sour taste in their mouth. And again, I circle back. They want Jaden to go to a place where he has an opportunity to become who he can become. And they want to be shown that they are important. And it does not matter if it's Brent Venables every day and Todd Bates every other day. The OC has kind of shown his hand. And I think that it's the tragedy portion of it is going after Bowe when Arbuckle started. He looked like a backup guy. He was a lower ranked dude, and he hadn't gotten the excitement yet. And then
he'd already went 16-0, brother. Come on, he'd already went 16-0.
He was relatively unknown nationally, though. Is kind of what I'm saying. Is nobody kind of knew what he was, and then
he hadn't shot up the rankings just yet. He hadn't shot completely up the rankings, but in the end, and look, it is what it is. I think the main thing that you could have, but I'm going to put it this way: it's not just an Arbuckle problem. If you really want to call it on anybody, you have to put it on Brent Venables, because it's his football team. He could have said, "No, we're not going to do this. This is not how you do it." But he hasn't, and he's gone on with that same stupid line that we're both saying is not true, that we'll get both of them. No, you're not going to get both of them. It doesn't even make sense to get both of them. But he deferred to his offensive coordinator, which I don't necessarily have a problem with that. But then just tell the O'Neals, we're going in another direction. Pull the scholarship offer instead of leading them on. Because I think that if you lose them both, it's because you didn't fully commit to either.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with that. I think that once you saw him starting to shoot up and you saw the agitation from the O'Neal side,
Of course.
because again, it's it's kind of the same thing, and there is a learning deal, and I hope Nagy gets in there and has a conversation, because it was the same thing with Sperry and O'Neal. Is you had Sperry committed for a long time. Jaden comes in, and then different classes, but Jaden comes in, and you knew as the Sperry family right away they were more enamored with O'Neal at that point. Now
Yeah,
that was Seth Luttrell, and I think that
I
if I'm
understand
Brent
that.
Venables in the future, I say we have to be more open, and we have to have a plan that we are giving equal opportunity for. At least give him the credit at that.
Yeah,
And listen, Hawkins is here. If
yeah.
Mateer runs 8-4, 9-3, especially 10-2, dude's gone. He's
Yeah,
going
if
to Bell.
he's in the
He's got enough.
Heisman room, he's gonna shoot up draft boards. If he's a finalist for the Heisman, he's gonna shoot up draft boards. That means they've had a good year.
If he
So
shows
he
capability,
yeah,
in the SEC, especially after what we looked like last year, and with
correct.
what Cam Ward showed out,
Yeah.
he's going to be one of the
You
top
got to
5
strike while
quarterbacks.
the iron's hot. If you have a first round grade or even an early second round grade, I could see him leaving. He may not, but I could see him leaving. Now, I hope that you don't end up losing Hawkins. I agree with all of that, though. But the thing that you have to remember is in the portal era, you can always get a transfer quarterback, and they will be available. They're going to be
Yeah,
available.
and I don't think Hawkins goes anywhere, guys. Like, I really don't. Like, it is.
I'm not
I have.
positive that he doesn't if he has to sit another year. If he gets his
Oh, if
red
he has
shirt back, yeah. If he was
if
to
he
have to
has to
sit
sit
another year,
another yeah, if he has to sit another year, I think that becomes a possibility,
yeah,
because I think he's ready. He's
yeah,
still a true sophomore. So
yeah.
just, I mean, keep that in mind. This will be his second year on campus, but in this era, you can move on. I don't think it's going to be a nasty breakup if somehow Mateer came back. It's just what's the best for them? What's the best for the Hawkins crew? And what's the best for Michael? And
Sure.
it sure the hell isn't, because here's what you don't want. You don't want him to sit another year, and then all of a sudden, whoever it is, Bowe, Jaden, whatever, you don't want that coming in too. You don't, because then all of a sudden he's looking over his shoulder for a final year, and and just mentally, as the for Michael Hawkins and his dad, is you don't know what is going to happen. You're not 100% sure about what would happen.
Yeah. And as far as you guys are talking about making predictions, I don't do a bunch of predictions when it comes to recruits. I'm the last one that does that shit. You can Parker and those dudes can do all that all day that they want, and that's part of their business. I get that. They're going to be wrong on some. We know because we're close with this family, the O'Neal family. We talk to these guys. So we know that I'm telling you, and Coop's telling you that they're not staying if Bowe's here, because they're not staying if Bowe's here. it's not
And
that hard.
and you just look at let's take it this way, for the path to play, regardless of whatever happens, but here for next year, is he still has to go through Hawkins, and
Mm-hmm.
then it's probably, there's probably a chance that if Mateer leaves, he's got to wait 2 years minimum, but waiting. And at Florida State, there is an absolute quicker path to play down there. And so it's going to be tough. It really is. And it's just going to be a situation that it's going to play itself out. We're going to see it happen. Whatever happens, again, I say that I appreciate the way that the O'Neals have handled this,
Me too.
because
Me too.
they have every right to
They haven't been ugly
be
about it.
completely
They haven't
mindset.
been
Yeah.
bitchy about it. They haven't, I think that they feel hurt about some things, and they have every right to feel that way. Right?
There's no reason they shouldn't.
Right. And we had Ortega on here. You were here that day whenever we had
Yeah.
Ortega on. And he said something that he was straight up about it. But when it comes to the O'Neals, they've been nothing but classy about it. Nothing but classy about it.
Very much. And listen, they're not trying to create drama. They're just trying to look out for themselves, which,
Yeah, absolutely.
listen, if it was my son, we'd have been gone by now. If it's my
Well,
son, we'd
and
have been gone by
I
now.
mean, look, they moved to Oklahoma though. That's the thing. They moved from California to Oklahoma. I think that they'd love for it to have worked out. And I don't know for sure that it works out if Bowe doesn't end up going to LSU. I don't know that. If he does end up going to LSU, I don't know that. Because of the way that it got handled. And again, I would say that you got to put just as much of it on Venables as you put on Arbuckle, because it is Venables' program. So he could have made that decision and said, look, we want this guy. He's been committed for a year. We talk about being, about having loyalty. The kids having loyalty to us and being loyal to their decisions. We need to be loyal to ours too, and back off of this recruitment.
Yeah, it's
he could have done that, or he could have at least said, if we're going to do this, then we need to cut them loose. And he didn't do that either. They've gone with this same stupid narrative that nobody's believed from day one.
I think Fence Post, I'm with you, is if you've got the talent around, you can go out and find a quarterback. But at the same time, like, if you do this one more time, then it becomes a recruiting tactic against your program. Why, hold on, don't commit to Oklahoma, because did you notice that? And it doesn't, it's like in the court. All you have to do is create a sliver of doubt that's 100% guilty or innocent, and
Sure.
you create that sliver of doubt, and that's just another hurdle. You've already got they've had 2 losing seasons in the past 3 years. Looks like they don't really handle this stuff well from the quarterback position. Maybe you need it, and I promise you, Peyton Houston's hearing a lot of that right now.
Yeah, no doubt. It could take Sugoi. It could take. I would tell you, it's probably going to take some ass kissing to get Jaden. If Bowe leaves, if Bowe takes LSU instead, right? Yeah, I think you still got work to do. But it's not like it's impossible at that point. If Bowe comes to Oklahoma, I say it's impossible. They're not getting both. They're not getting both. All right, I know you got to get as well. Appreciate everybody coming in. Oh, man. Tell us what you got coming up over on Unfair with Jay.
Yeah, I dropped it past couple days. If you guys want to go back and check out, we had an interview with Jacob Henry, the world's strongest man's son, WWE, legend. He came in on the wrestling team. He has absolutely been just a stud. Phenomenally well-spoken dude. We talked food, we talked so many different things. And then we also had one that we dropped yesterday for Brian Harris, new defensive line recruit. Again, another well-spoken dude, just an absolute stud of a person, and just makes you feel great about the caliber of guys that we have. I'm going to have a recruiting update with Deacon Schmidt. I think he is a significantly heavy OU lean. He's got visits to Nebraska and Tennessee coming up, but he also has them on the 20th, and that's when the Champion Barbecue is. So, whether that happens or not, it's yet to be seen. But I think he's a dude who has the opportunity to come in. I'll start my parents' interviews up here in July, working on Tory Blaylock's dad, also Brian Harris's, and then Mark Henry himself.
That's awesome.
Would absolutely love that to come to fruition. But man, just the high character guys. Jay and I, kind of during the summer, we just stick to the Sunday nights. So check us out Sunday night at 6 p.m. And as always, we got a thunder up tonight, folks.
Hey, thunder it up! Hell yeah!
I promise you, this is you saw a little bit of rust in game 1. It took so many things going wrong for Indiana to win by 1 point. And then you saw last week, they called off the dogs.
This feels like the Denver series to me again.
It does, but here's what I think is, if the Thunder can go tonight, game 1 in Indiana, all the pressure's on them now. They just got blasted. It was a 20-point win when they called off. They did not go for the comeback. They pulled their guys with just under 3 minutes to go, and they waved the white flag. And but OU looks like they got back in. Thunder looks like they got back in their bag. You take this game, and all of a sudden, that doubt is very, very significant in those boys' eyes, and they start looking around at, hey man, we really put it together. This has been a great. Next year we're coming back harder than ever. Man, I don't think, Jason, I've ever had had a thought that we would see a major championship, come to the state of Oklahoma, and I'm pretty excited about it. Listen, Indiana's tough out. They are very, very multiple. They try to do a lot of different things. Key to the game is, again, keeping Hallie out of the paint and making it hard as hell for him to get the ball, because once you take the ball out of his hand, he can't get in the paint. It closes out a lot of those options, and they rely on the three. And this team showed in game 2 that they are still one of the best perimeter defending teams in the NBA.
No doubt.
And to everybody who's saying, the NBA screwed this over by having 2 small market teams being there.
Oh, come
Listen,
on.
large market teams, be freaking better.
Yeah, shut up and
You
play
lost
better.
games. Be
Quit
better.
bitching about it.
And also quit trying to navigate.
I hate idiot fans that say that shit too. Stupid.
It's 5-6 deep. The Lakers got Luka and LeBron. LeBron's getting old, yeah, but after that, after Austin Reeves, there's not much else out there. And so, for everybody freaking out about that, this is an entertaining series. You're seeing absolute hustle plays. You're seeing teamwork. You're seeing, nobody's giving up on either side of the ball ever. These guys are fighting and grinding as hard as hell.
Right. All right, man. Let's see. I got to get for sure, but yeah. All right, guys. Everybody, appreciate you all coming in, spending time with us. Yeah, as far as the timeouts and stuff goes, I was just fucking with you guys, man. I do that because you're Texas dudes, and I like to.
The brand has finally returned. Fuck your brand.
Shout out to Oni Kuno, who he was a caller on the show Saturday night. Got to talk to him for a little bit. We're gonna do some more work with him coming up soon as well. Guys, look forward to and there's some things that hopefully be coming up here in the next couple of weeks that I think people are going to really like. So I'm hoping that I've been working really hard on some business planning and stuff like that. So maybe it'll all work itself out. But for sure, make sure you're sharing the stream. Share it with your friends. If people that like college football generally like this show, because we do tell it like it is, and we say what we think, and we do it all the time. So make sure you're help us out. Help us get to 5,000 by the time the season starts, man. It would be great for us.
You said 500 earlier, and I was like,
did I say 500 earlier? We need 500 more. No, we need over 500 more is what I thought I said.
Okay. I like it.
To get to 5,000. We're at 40. We're at 44, like 40 or 30 or something like that. 44, 30, I think it is.
Yeah, if you're in here and you haven't hit like, man, it don't cost you anything. It just says,
it's free.
Hey, man,
come on.
This is people that, it's not even for you. It's for other people to see.
Yeah, we've got 67 people in here right now and only 45 likes. So the people that are in the building today on YouTube, hit the damn like button. Come on. It helps more than everything else. You guys are awesome. Appreciate everybody coming in. We're going to go out to the commercial. Make sure you get signed up with MyBookie too. That would also help us. Have a good one.
Later.
Hey, Jason Watkins here with Hall of Fame College Football. And if you are ready to back your favorite team, the Sooners, and fade that Texas hype train every Saturday this fall, there's only one place to do it, MyBookie. Right now, you can double your first deposit up to $1,000 when you sign up at hofmedia.us/mybookie1000. That's hofmedia.us/mybookie1000. Yep, 100% deposit bonus, and it takes less than 5 minutes to get started. Whether you're betting college football, rolling the dice in the online casino, or dropping a 10-leg parlay on SEC Chaos, MyBookie has everything you need. Bet anytime, anywhere, on the go, at the tailgate, or yelling at the refs from your couch. Just don't talk trash. Put your money where your mouth is. Hit that link, hofmedia.us/mybookie1000, and